If you're watching this video, it's probably because you've either seen my short form content of the daily life of doing a 21-day fast, or you're curious about doing a fast for yourself. The story starts like this. I was 300 pounds. I was bloated. I felt lethargic. I felt tired. I was exhausted, and I didn't like how I looked. And when I say I was 300 pounds, I'm not kidding. I was exactly 300 pounds on day one of the fast when I weighed in. But obviously not eating for 3 weeks makes you lose weight. So at the end of this video, I will reveal to you exactly how much weight I lost, and now a week after the fast has ended, how much weight I've kept off. First things first, why did I even do the fast in the first place? Now this is multifaceted. It wasn't for one specific reason. It was kind of all encompassing. I did it for multiple reasons. The main primary reason I did the fast was because our church was doing 21 days of prayer and fasting, and I wanted to participate in that, but that's spiritual, so I like to keep that portion to myself and focus on the physical. And an obvious reason why I did the fast was because I was overweight, I was bloated, I felt nasty all the time, and I wanted to get my mental discipline where it needed to be and start off the year right. So really, I'll be talking about the physical portion of the fast. A little bit about my history. There was a time where I gained 30 pounds in 3 months my freshman year in college. Right after that, I went on an extreme diet of a lot of eggs, meat, and cheese. You could call it keto. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I started losing weight. Then within 2 years, I actually lost around 50 pounds, got down to about 180 pounds total, but I was kind of starving myself and it wasn't a sustainable diet. Then it was about the COVID period. I got married and I started to do a little bit of bulking. So for the following 3 years, I really bulked up. I gained a lot of muscle. I got up to about 220 to 235, and I was sitting around 23% body fat. I couldn't run quite as much as I used to, but I was hitting maxes left and right, and I was stronger than I had ever been before. I would say regarding my physique, that time was about my peak where I was very strong. I still had a little bit of fat on my body, but I looked good and I felt good. Then of course, my wife had our first kid about 2 years ago, and that's when everything started to go downhill. I started to skip the gym. I was going out to eat all the time, and I was stressed out a lot, so I was just eating whatever was in front of me. I also started staying up late because I felt like I deserved it. And really all this led to was toxic eating habits, and it made me gain about 60 pounds in 2 years. And that brings us to today, where a month ago I was the heaviest I had ever been, and I needed to change something in my life. So if you want to know a great benefit of why I did the fast, it was mainly because I needed to change my mental capacity and change the discipline and the habits that I formed all those years of doing things that were not good for my body. So when it comes to fasting, there are so many benefits for your body, and I can't get to all of them because kind of how you fast depends on what benefits you're going to get. And the fast that I did was very specific, and I'll go over exactly what I did and how my body changed with it, because I didn't get every single benefit that was available if I would have been more strict. Now, obviously a huge benefit of fasting is you lose weight. Naturally, that's what you do because you're not eating. It's starvation, and your body starts eating into itself a little bit. And basically when you don't eat that food, you're not getting the sugars that your body needs, because your body mainly functions on glucose for energy. So it puts your body into ketosis. And that's basically saying that your body doesn't run on sugar anymore, it's mainly running on fat. And with that fat, since you're not eating anything, it's starting to eat away the fat in your body. I don't know the exact science behind everything that comes with a fast, but there's things like cellular repair called autophagy. And for me personally, I saw better circulation in my body. I had more energy throughout the day because I also stopped drinking coffee for 10 days during that fast. I would recommend that before you fast or before you make a decision to do anything similar to a fast, that you would do your research and figure out exactly what you need to do to make sure you're staying safe. But let's get into my experience with the fast, the full 21 days where I didn't eat. The first stage I would call the hunger phase, and it was a course of about 5 days where all I wanted to do was eat. I was so hungry. And I remember when I would get those hunger pains, and so I would chew gum, and the flavor of the gum was like mind-blowing to me, and I could not get enough of it. It was crazy. And during that first hunger phase, I was eating some salt too, and I would just put it under my tongue because I was getting really hungry and it felt like I was eating something. But I also realized that I was not eating enough salt. I actually needed way more sodium for my body. And if you saw any of my videos, one of the goals that I had beginning the fast was that I was going to drink more than a gallon of water a day. Turns out that was a bad idea. And how I figured that out was because on day 2 of the fast, I went to the gym, did a full workout like I usually did. I felt great afterwards. But then on day 3, I came to the gym again and I was exhausted all day. I felt like I was going to fall asleep. My muscles weren't working normally. I could barely walk. I was just so tired. And when I looked it up, what was actually happening was that I did not get enough sodium. And since I was drinking so much water, I was flushing all of those electrolytes out of my body. So I had to go to the store and get a few packs of electrolytes and make sure that I was getting enough sodium. And when I did the research of exactly how much sodium I needed, I discovered that I needed somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 milligrams of sodium. As it turns out, when you're fasting, your body actually needs way more sodium and electrolytes than normal because you're not eating a normal American diet, which is already high in sodium. Plus, all you're getting is water, so it's just flushing those electrolytes out of your system. So I went to the store and I tried a few different packs of electrolytes, but I found that my favorite ones were Element. And the reason I like these Element packs is because they had the electrolytes that I needed, but they also had 1,000 milligrams of sodium in each one. So basically I started taking about 3 of these a day, and this started at around day 5 and went all the way until the end of the fast. But towards the end of that hunger phase, day 5, I have to say, was probably the worst. It was where I was starting to get really hangry because I was just so hungry. But then when I woke up on day 6, I felt great. And that starts the next phase, which I call the grind phase. And during this grind phase, I would say it's from about day 6 to about day 14. During that time, all it is you wake up every day, you're doing about the same thing, and you start getting used to not having food in your body. You start getting used to skipping the meals and drinking your electrolytes and having your salt and doing workouts that work for your body. Because this was a surprise to me, and it may seem like common sense to you, but I never really thought about the fact that if you're not taking in calories, you're not having protein, you're not having the sugars that you need, then your muscles cannot physically grow. So I was trying to lift heavy, but all it was doing to my body was actually spiking my cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And so all I was getting was more stress to my body and no way to recover from it. And so during that grind phase, I started to fall back on my workouts. I started to just walk and do a lot of stretching and try to maintain some movement throughout my day. This worked really well for me, and I started sleeping a lot better. I wasn't super hungry at night. I was waking up feeling really good. But by day 10, I will be honest with you, I started drinking coffee again. And there really wasn't any reason for drinking coffee other than I had gone 10 days without it. I really missed it. It was one of my favorite parts of the morning. And so I started drinking it again, but I was going light. I wasn't drinking the amount of coffee that I usually had. I was really just sticking to 1 cup a day, which was enough caffeine to get me through the day. And then later on in the day, I might have like 50 milligrams of caffeine from other sources. So this brings us all the way to 2 weeks into the fast. I don't remember the exact weight I was at, but I was probably down 20 pounds or so at that point. And every day I was losing like 2 pounds. And I will say this, I feel like the weight came off of me really easy because I had so much inflammation and swelling in my body, and I was retaining so much water because of the things I was eating. But that brings us to the last week of the fast, which I call the crap phase. And I call this the crap phase not because I was hungry or tired. It was mainly just because I felt like crap about the fast. I was honestly just ready to have it done. I wasn't hungry, but I was like, I need to eat food. I'm just ready to get back to eating food. But I knew I still had a week left. So every day it was monotonous, it was boring, and you just had to push through it. However, on day 16 of 21, which means I had 5 days left, I started drinking some chicken broth. This broth was only 10 calories per serving, so I wasn't getting anything significant into my body, but it had some sodium and it had a completely different taste. And honestly, it felt and tasted like a full meal, which was crazy because I was like, I don't typically drink broth straight from a bottle, but this time I'm gonna. Then every day leading up to that final day, I started drinking just a little bit more broth. And the whole point of doing this was to really kickstart my digestion so that on that final day, I could eat somewhat normal again. I also started adding just a little bit of honey and some skim milk into my coffee to do the same thing, to just kickstart my digestion a little bit. And I know that technically breaks a full water fast, but I was still only getting around 100 to 200 calories per day, when on average, Americans will eat like 3,000 calories or more per day. So the way I looked at it, I was still going strong. And I also wasn't getting hungry after I would drink any of those things. But then on day 21, what I did in the morning was had about half of a protein shake. It was about 75 calories and 10 grams of protein. And that really started to kickstart my digestion so that night I could eat something somewhat normal. And that night I had chicken noodle soup that my wife made. And as weird as this sounds, when I made the video about the first meal that I had, it was honestly disappointing. And maybe it's my fault because of what I expected, but I expected to take a bite and it was like euphoria and it was the best thing I'd ever had. And it was so exciting and so great. And really all it was like, I took a bite and it was chicken noodle soup. Now that we've covered day 1 to day 21 of doing this fast, let's talk about how much weight I actually lost. Like I mentioned earlier, at some point I was losing around 2 pounds a day, and there would be good days and there'd be bad days and it would taper off a little bit. But by day 21, I weighed myself and I was 34 pounds down. That's 266 from all the way at 300 pounds. To me, that's incredible. And I felt so light on my feet because I wasn't carrying so much weight. Now, the real question is, a week after the fast, which is today, how much weight have I actually kept off? And to answer that, I actually weighed myself this morning at the gym and I was still 25 pounds down, which is 275 down from 300. I don't know if that's normal because I've never done this before. But what I do know is if all I've gained back is 9 pounds from when I was fasting, I'm so happy with that because the goal was to only keep off 10 pounds and I ended up keeping off 25 somehow. However, I don't know exactly how much that's going to change. For example, the next month or 2 months, or by the time I hit summertime, I don't know if that's going to go up or down or if I'm going to lose more weight. The goal is that I keep losing weight because I want to get down to somewhere between 220 and 230. And since we're talking about weight, I want to tell you about the next video that I'm going to have released. I will be going to a pizza buffet and seeing exactly how much weight you can gain in one meal at a buffet. You may call me stupid for doing this 1 week after the fast, but I don't really care because I'm genuinely curious about it. And we're going to figure out how much I can actually eat and document every single thing that goes into my body and the weight that I end up with after I eat. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and follow me on all the platforms so you can see exactly how much weight you can gain doing one meal at a buffet. And I want to say thank you for watching this video. And if you have any questions about a fast, feel free to comment on this video and I will go through them and I'll answer everything that I can. And I'll challenge you with this. If there's someone that you know that may need to do a fast, may need to lose a little bit of weight or get their life back on check and get their discipline in check, send them this video.